Have you noticed that many of the fruits you eat every day have no seeds? Bananas, grapes, oranges, they all look perfect, easy, convenient. But there is something hidden behind them that almost no one mentions. After all, if the natural function of a fruit is to carry seeds to give rise to new plants, what happens when the fruit is born without any? What few people know is that these fruits should not even exist. They would not survive on their own. They are artificially created clones, completely dependent on us. And this is more serious than it seems, because every time you eat a seedless fruit, you are stepping into a fragile food system, risky and vulnerable to global collapse. Today you will discover why these fruits exist, what the risks are of depending on them, and most importantly, what you can do in your daily life to protect your health and your food. So, if you think eating a simple banana is just a harmless habit, stay until the end, because the truth may surprise you. The convenient food that can become a problem. Have you ever stopped to think about what is really happening when you bite into a seedless fruit? The scene is familiar. You buy a banana, some grapes, or maybe a tangerine at the supermarket. They look perfect, sweet, practical, easy to peel, without the nuisance of seeds. It is so common that we hardly notice. But behind this convenience lies a biological paradox and a food risk that few people know about. And the question almost no one asks is, if these fruits have no seeds, how do they continue to exist? The natural function of any fruit is very clear. In the language of biology, a fruit is not a gift of nature for our dessert, it is a survival strategy of the plant. The fruit serves as a nutritious and tasty shell to protect and carry seeds. It is an ancient agreement. The plant offers energy and flavor, attracts animals, which eat the fruit and carry the seeds elsewhere, ensuring that the species spreads. This perfect cycle has sustained the planet's biodiversity for millions of years. Now think, what happens when you remove the central element of this cycle, the seed? The result is a fruit that no longer fulfills its biological function. The banana you eat, the grapes you buy, the oranges you squeeze, cannot generate new plants on their own. They are organisms that, without human intervention, would simply cease to exist. This is the first reason why you should be concerned. These fruits depend completely on us. Without grafting, cloning, and sophisticated cultivation techniques, they would disappear. How it started. It all began with spontaneous mutations. A classic example is that of navel oranges. In the 19th century, in Brazil, monks tending their orange groves noticed something unusual. A single branch of one tree produced different fruits, seedless. It was not a miracle, but a phenomenon known as bud sport, a spontaneous mutation in a specific branch. This mutation allowed the fruit to grow without going through the fertilization process. Scientifically, this is called parthenocarpy, which means virgin fruit. The monks were amazed. That fruit was more practical and very tasty. They decided to multiply it. But there was an obstacle. Without seeds, there was no way to plant new trees from those fruits. So, they turned to grafting, taking a branch or bud from that mutant tree and grafting it onto another healthy tree. The result was a perfect clone. By repeating this process, they created several identical trees, spreading that mutation across the world. Today, all the navel oranges you find are direct descendants of that first mutation that occurred in a Brazilian monastery. Each fruit is essentially a copy of that original tree. The same happened with other fruits. Grapes, watermelons, bananas, tangerines, figs, all went through similar processes of cloning, grafting, or genetic manipulation to meet human demand. The reason? Very simple. We, the consumers, prefer seedless fruits. They are more practical, require no effort to eat, and seem more modern. Producers, in turn, know that such fruits sell better, which means more profit. But convenience hides a hidden cost. The problem of cloning. Every time we multiply a seedless fruit, we are not creating new and varied individuals, we are creating perfect copies of the same organism. It is cloning on an industrial scale. And although this works in the short term, it brings a dangerous consequence: the loss of genetic diversity. Diversity is the natural defense of species. In a traditional plantation, each seed is an individual with small genetic variations. If a pest appears, some plants may die, but others resist, ensuring the survival of the species. In a plantation of clones, however, all are genetically identical. If a pest learns how to attack one, it can attack them all. This means that a single specific disease is enough to wipe out entire crops. We are literally putting all the fruits in the same genetic basket. How science hacked reproduction, you may be wondering. Besides grafting, how exactly does science manage to create seedless fruits? There are a few main mechanisms. 1. Parthenocarpy, when the fruit forms without fertilization. This is the case of navel oranges and some bananas. 2. Stenospermocarpy, when fertilization occurs, but the seed stops developing halfway. This is what produces grapes with those tiny malformed seed remnants. 3. Chromosomal manipulation, as in the case of seedless watermelons. Japanese scientists used the substance colchicine to force the plant to have 4 sets of chromosomes instead of 2. When crossed with a normal watermelon, the resulting fruit had 3 sets of chromosomes, which interrupted seed development. These are ingenious techniques, but they also show how far we had to go to create these convenient fruits. The dilemma of the definition of life. This manipulation raises an even deeper question: can these fruits be considered alive? In biology books, life is defined by a few characteristics: having an organized structure, consuming energy, growing, responding to stimuli, adapting to the environment, and reproducing. Seedless fruits meet all of these requirements, except one. They cannot reproduce on their own. This places them in a special category. They are living organisms, but they only persist because we maintain them. Without our intervention, they would quickly disappear. And here lies the second reason why you should be concerned: we have created an absolute dependency between us and these foods. Why this matters to you, you may think, but what is the problem? If we can maintain these fruits, why worry? The answer is simple: because artificial systems that depend on constant maintenance are fragile. One failure is enough to bring them down. The seedless fruit you eat today may seem harmless, but it represents an entire food chain based on fragile clones. A pest or a specific disease could mean not only losing a fruit in the supermarket, but facing global food crises. And do not be mistaken, this has already happened before. The story of the Gros Michel banana, the most popular fruit in the world until the mid-20th century, is the best example of how large-scale cloning can lead to disaster. The future of seedless fruits and what you need to do to protect yourself. We have seen how seedless fruits represent a paradox of biology: organisms that cannot reproduce on their own and only exist because we clone and cultivate them artificially. This alone would be enough to raise a red flag. But the issue goes far beyond scientific curiosity. It directly affects your health, your nutrition, and even your food security. And here comes the central question: why should you be concerned if you eat seedless fruits? The risk of dependence on clones. Let us start with the story of the banana. Until the 1950s, the most consumed variety in the world was the Gros Michel, known as Big Mike. A sweeter, more aromatic, and tastier banana than any Cavendish today. But there was an invisible problem: all Gros Michel bananas were clones. When Panama disease, a devastating fungus, began to spread, no plant had resistance. In just a few years, entire plantations were destroyed. The result? The Gros Michel practically disappeared from global trade. It was replaced by the Cavendish, less flavorful but resistant to the fungus. Today, it dominates the global market. But just like its predecessor, the Cavendish is also a clone. And guess what? The new version of the fungus, called TR4, is already killing Cavendish plantations in different parts of the world. Scientists are even talking about a possible banana apocalypse. This story is not only about bananas. It is a warning about the risk of relying on cloned foods that lack genetic diversity. If a pest hits them, they all fall together. How this affects your health? You may be thinking, okay, but this is a problem for farmers, not for me. Not really. Your health is also at stake. 1. Less genetic diversity means less nutritional diversity. Cloned fruits tend to have more homogeneous nutrient profiles, which can limit the variety of beneficial phytochemicals that reach you. Dietary diversity has always been one of the keys to human health. When we reduce variety, we also reduce the richness of nutrients. 2. Loss of valuable parts of the food. Many seedless fruits are consumed without peel, without fiber, and without the seeds themselves, which are extremely rich in bioactive compounds. By seeking convenience, we give up an important part of nutrition. 3. Increased vulnerability of the food system. If bananas disappeared tomorrow, perhaps for you it would be just a detail. But in countries where bananas are a staple food, it would mean mass malnutrition. And global food crises always end up affecting everyone, including the prices you pay at the supermarket. What you can do in daily life. Here come the practical tips for healthy eating that you can apply today. 1. Diversify your fruits. Do not rely only on bananas, grapes, and oranges, precisely the most cloned and vulnerable. Explore fruits like guava, rich in vitamin C, up to 5 times more than orange, acerola, one of the greatest natural antioxidants, papaya, with papain, excellent for digestion. Kiwi, full of fiber and vitamin C. Mango, with beta-carotene and protective polyphenol. Each fruit brings a unique combination of nutrients. By varying, you protect your health and reduce dependence on clones. 2. Value the seeds. Often, we throw away precisely the most nutritious part. Examples: grape seeds, rich in polyphenol and antioxidants that fight premature aging. Watermelon seeds, can be toasted and eaten as snacks, a source of magnesium and zinc. Pumpkin seeds, excellent for prostate and heart health. By eliminating seeds from the diet for convenience, we lose priceless sources of nutrients. 3. Prefer whole and local foods. Standardized supermarket fruits usually come from large cloned monocultures. On the other hand, fruits from farmers' markets, local producers, and even those that look less pretty often have more genetic diversity and different nutritional profiles. Besides nourishing you better, you also strengthen more sustainable agricultural systems. 4. Do not depend on a single fruit for a nutrient. Looking for potassium? You do not need only bananas. Sweet potatoes, beans, and avocados are also rich sources. Need vitamin C? Do not depend only on oranges. Acerola, guava, and strawberries provide much more. Want fiber? Besides fruits, whole grains and legumes also do the job. By diversifying, you avoid becoming dependent on a fruit that may suddenly disappear from the shelves. 5. Grow what you can. Even in small spaces, you can plant herbs, cherry tomatoes, lemon, or passion fruit. This strengthens your connection with food and reduces your dependence on an increasingly fragile agricultural system. Science is hope, of course. Science is not standing still. Technologies like CRISPR are already being used to create plants resistant to pests and diseases. There is research underway to develop bananas, tomatoes, and even seedless cherries that could survive global threats. But there is still cultural resistance. Many people are afraid of consuming genetically modified foods. And while this debate remains unresolved, we continue stuck in a fragile clone-based model. The near future. What is at stake is not only whether you will have bananas or oranges tomorrow. What is at stake is the resilience of our food supply. Today, out of more than 30,000 edible plant species that exist on the planet, our global diet depends on only a few hundred. Most cloned, standardized, and vulnerable. If we continue relying on clones without diversity, just one pest may cause global crises. If we choose diversity, both in cultivation and on the plate, we increase our chances of a safer food future. Seedless fruits may seem like a gift of modernity, convenient, easy to consume, perfect. But in reality, they are a symbol of the fragility of our food system. Each bite is a reminder that we are becoming increasingly dependent on artificial clones. The good news is that you can act. Vary your diet. Value fruits with seeds. Support local producers. Grow something at home. This way, besides protecting your health with more nutrients, you also strengthen the diversity that ensures the survival of fruits in the future. And that is why you should be concerned if you eat seedless fruits. Because it is not only about what is on your plate today, but what may no longer be there tomorrow. Now you know, seedless fruits are not just a modern convenience. They are a silent warning that we are becoming increasingly dependent on fragile clones and on a food system that can collapse at any moment. But the good news is that you can act, diversify your diet, value fruits with seeds, consume local products, and, if possible, grow your own food. Small choices can make all the difference for your health, and even for the future of the next generations. And now I want to know from you, had you ever stopped to think that seedless fruits depend entirely on humans to exist? Leave your comment below. If this video brought new ideas to you, like it, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you will not miss any content. Support our channel. Find out how in the first pinned comment below.